Today we're making paper flowers and it only takes 3 art materials to make them. So I'm going to be using white copy paper to make my flowers today, but you can use whatever paper that you have at your house. So if you have construction paper, or if you want to decorate, like paint or color your paper before you make the flowers, that's totally okay. In my demonstration, I'll be using white paper, but any kind of paper is fine for this project. You'll also need a pair of scissors and some tape or some glue to hold the flower together. I'm using tape because it'll hold the flower right away for the demonstration, but if you have a glue stick or glue at home that you want to use, it will take a little bit of pinching and holding the flower until the glue sticks so that the flower doesn't fall apart. Okay, artists, let's get started making paper flowers. All right, I'm going to show you how to make a couple different types of flowers. I have a stack here of white copy paper, and I'm just going to grab one sheet and put the rest aside for right now. Hi, Mrs. Seneco. This is a teacher at my school, and she sent us all little flat versions of ourselves. So she's going to hang out while we make some flowers. Okay, so now here you can get as technical or, as loosey-goosey as you want, but you want to cut out some sort of oval or circle from the paper. Now, if you want to find a circle object in your house and cut it out so it's perfectly round, go ahead, but I'm just going to kind of eyeball it, and I'm just going to cut out a big circle, and it's okay if it's not perfect. Okay. And then that's garbage. All right, now what I'm going to do is I want to cut on the inside of my circle. And I'm going to cut out the middle part of my circle. And I want to keep this area kind of wide. I don't want it real skinny, because this is the part of how big my flower is going to be. So I only want to cut out the middle part. And this is how all of our flowers are going to start. So if you want to make a bunch of these right now, that might be a really good idea. I'm going to show you how to make 3 different types of flowers and then a flower that doesn't need to start out round. So I'm going to stop my video right now. I'm going to make a few of these so that we can use them when we're discussing the different types of paper folding flower techniques. So I've cut a few circles and I've kept the centers because I'm going to need them to finish up my flowers. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of these circles and I'm going to cut kind of a pointy petal zigzag line all around the outside edge. You don't want to cut the middle, you want to cut the outside edge. And it doesn't have to be perfect when you're doing this. Just kind of stick to the same type or style of line so your flower looks more consistent. And I'm just kind of cutting sort of like a pointy petal zigzag line. My sides are a bit more curvy than up and down on a zigzag line. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to roll all the way around tightly in the middle and then a little bit looser on the edge. And you just want to roll, keep rolling. And then when you get to the end, decide how tight or you can let go and the flower can be a bit looser that you want your flower. And then with a little piece of tape so that your flower stays in place. To finish off this flower, you can make even bigger circles and put this little one inside, or you can take the center of your circle and cut out a flower with similar petals. So because this flower is pointy petals, I'm going to cut out another flower with pointy petals. If you want these to curl up a bit, then you just curl them into each other so that you get more of a 3D look. And then in the center of this, you can put your other paper flower. You can glue this right in here. And if you want this to be bigger and you don't want it to be so tight anymore, depending on how you want to finish it, you can loosen it up and fit it in the middle. And so if you want it to stay, you can tape it again, and then you've got this awesome 3D flower. If you want this to stay here, you can always do a roll of tape, or you can stick some glue in the center. Or you can stick some glue in the center. We're gonna make a few of these, so I have this off to the side. So my next one, I'm going to do a wavy line around the edge. And just like my first flower, I am going to start to curl it. And we're gonna roll. I'm gonna use one small piece of tape to hold it in place for now. I'm gonna take the center of that circle and I'm going to cut out some rounded petals. Curl those ones up so they're also 3D. And now this time, instead of using tape, I'm gonna put a drop of glue in the center. Now, if you add glue to the center, just know that it'll take a little bit to dry. So I'm gonna put a little bit of glue in here. If you don't have glue at home, this step is totally optional. I'm gonna open up my flower, because I want it to be a little bit looser. And I'm gonna put a piece of tape so that the flower is a bit looser so it fits a bit better in the center. Okay, the next flower I'm going to do is a fringe. And I'm gonna go all the way around my circle and I'm gonna cut fringe. When you're cutting fringe, be careful not to cut all the way to the center of your circle, because then you'll cut your piece off. And this fringe can be as thick or as skinny as you want. In fact, after you make one, you might decide that your fringe is too wide, and you can go back and actually cut the fringe so that it's a bit skinnier. But be careful when doing this. I know that you can get going really fast, but if you cut all the way down, you'll actually cut off part of your flower. Also, this is really great scissor practice. If you need lots of practice with scissors, cutting fringe is always great and coordination practice. Okay, just like the other two flowers, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start rolling in a circle. This one's gonna be a bit trickier because you've got all these little fringy guys hanging out and they'll try and get in your way. This one is really fun because at the end we get to kind of like push these out a little bit so this flower can get really big. Okay, and a piece of tape to hold it together. Okay, here's the flower. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start pulling back the petals and kind of like fluffing it up a little bit, and you can make these fringe flowers actually really, really big. You can see we're starting to get a bit of a collection of flowers here. Okay, I'm gonna be right back with one more type of paper flower that you can make. So the last folding technique for flowers is you are going to take your sheet of paper and cut it in half vertically. So you get a kind of cut in half paper. It doesn't have to be perfect, and it's like skinny and long. You can actually make two flowers out of one piece of paper. So take it and fold it in half. Again, doesn't have to be perfect. And you're gonna be cutting fringe on the side that's folded. So you've got two sides. You've got the side that opens and the side that's folded. So you wanna cut fringe up and down the folded side. So you can kind of see, and this is what your petal is going to look like. So this is a variation on the fringe flower. And you can make these as thick or as skinny as you want. All depends on what you want your final flower to look like. Okay, so now we're going to roll this. And I'm gonna get a little piece of tape to hold it in place. Now you can keep the flower looking like this, or you can kind of like push down like you did with the fringe flower and kind of make it your flower so that it's bigger. You can even with this flower open up these folded sections so you get an even wider flower petal. You can go around and do that to all of those and it'll make your flower look bigger and fuller. You see what it's doing here. Make a bunch of these, which are really fun. And what I've done is I've cut out the center of a circle. So this is one of my extras. And I've glued a bunch of my flowers to it. So I'm creating like a flower bouquet with all my different types of flowers. And you can really get creative doing this. And it looks really cool. And if you don't like my white paper, you can always use construction paper, colored or painted paper to do this project. Okay guys, I hope you liked learning how to make three-dimensional flowers. Please don't forget to take a picture and submit in Google Classroom or tag me on social media. Bye artists!